Hello graduates, welcome to SpeedChat edition. So this week you're going to have your SpeedChat. It's an annual SpeedChat, and this time around we're actually going to have it remotely online. So I'm going to give you a few tips to help you bring your best e-foot forward. Okay, so first part is going to be about your Zoom settings. The second one would be your e-first impressions. And the third one would actually be about your presentation. So in part one, we're going to be covering your Zoom settings. If you get into your video here, I want you to go into video settings, and this is my best practice. I have it set up so that I can have the best display for videos. As you can see over here, I got to spotlight my video when I'm speaking, display my participants' name on their videos, touch up my appearance because I'm vain, and mirror my video. So 16:9. When you get into your audio settings, make sure that you come here to test out your headphones, and I'll speak a little bit about the headphones in a bit. Make sure that your audio output is up on the volume input as well. So if you want to do video recordings, then this is, it's a good time for me to just give you a little heads up. Make sure you know whether all your files are being stored over here. You can actually change the location, but I like to keep it in Documents Zoom. You can also look at how you can record a separate audio file. Now, this is actually quite important. So your audio settings are probably going to be overlapping each other. And one of the things that you can actually do is to save individual participants' audio files. So this is going to increase the quality of your audio recording. Of course, knowing that you're actually going to be able to share your screen to create your presentation and show your presentation, I want you to make sure that you have all your online web tabs on file. So ready to go on your desktop and on your web browser. Always remember that if you're playing something off of the internet, this is actually going to take a couple of seconds to lag, and you have to account for that. So don't think that's just going to be smooth sailing. If you actually have videos, it's better to have it on your computer, on your desktop, because then you can play it directly. So another tip I wanted to give you was about Eyeline. What I like to do is, if you can see this, I've got Nick on the chat with me now. Hi, Nick. Thank you for being my model. So if you can see, this is the screen that he's sharing with me. What I want to do is get into this toggle so that I can see both. I can see myself and keep watch of my framing, and I can also see Nick. And the most important thing is that I want to see him so that I can match his eye line. So what I've done is I've kept him right up the top of my screen so that I can naturally look at his face and speak directly to my camera. Because I've positioned him right under my camera, it looks like I'm talking to him. The eye line is correct. However, if I have him on the side like you see now, well, then every time I speak to Nick and I want to look at him and look him in the eye, I'm actually looking at the side of my screen, and then my eye line is totally off from his perspective and looks a little bit awkward. Now, I know some people that also have it at the bottom like this, and that's even worse, because right now what that does is that every time I'm looking at Nick's face, I'm literally looking at the bottom of my screen and the eye line is totally off. So this is my camera, and this is me looking at him on my screen at the bottom. So what you want to do is you want to keep the window right up the top, as close to the camera on your laptop as possible. If you actually have a, what do you call it? The
actual webcam.
An actual webcam. What you want to do is you want to put your window as close to the webcam as possible. Some people like to have it propped up on the side of the screen, and that way, keeping the window as close as to the camera as you can go is going to give you the best way that you can actually get your eye line correct when you're speaking to your audience, just like now. Another thing is, please charge your laptop. Make sure that all your laptop and all your devices are fully charged, because batteries go dead and you don't want it to happen right in the middle of your interview. So this is my best practice that I keep for my Zoom settings. And I think that a lot of you might have the same settings and the same intentions of what you use your Zoom for. So you can copy mine, but at the same time, it would be a good idea for you to go and find out a little bit more about what you're capable of creating or using Zoom with. Part 2, your first e-impression. Unlike going to an interview where you can actually walk in through the door, say hi, make that eye contact before you actually head to the table. For your very curious online SpeedChat this year, your first impression is when your screen comes on and you're just bam, like a shock. This is really important for you to get your framing right straight away. There are a couple of things that I want to highlight. That's framing, eye level, lighting, background, and of course your audio. So these are the things that are non-negotiables, okay? I know a lot of you use your laptop on the table. This is something that I like to do myself. And, it's just the best angle for the hand and the wrist movements. But what we're doing here is we're trying to create the best practice for an interview. So you want to have your computer raised, so elevated high, meaning you would really prefer to have your eye level at your camera at your eye level so that you'll be able to get the best framing for your face. Okay? I'm going to have my cam tool reach out to you and show you. I've got my laptop propped up on my kid's booster seat, and I'm going to get the best framing possible. Now, a lot of you, having done a lot of these tutorials, like to put your face in the middle of the screen like that. Okay, we do so on our phones, mobile phones all the time, but I have to tell you that that's really bad framing. So you got to go back to film class and remember that you want to lessen that headroom space. So the space just above my head when I do that, and I have my head in the middle of the frame, this is headroom space. You see how that feels very awkward? My head is like floating right in the middle of the frame. It's not filling up the frame, and I look really dwarfed. So what you want to do is you want to lower that framing and just tilt your camera so that, so you can do it like this, and just make sure that you cover that headroom and lessen that gap towards the top of the frame. So this is a much more balanced, composed framing, and it's going to give a much better impression. Like you're filling up a lot more of the frame, and this is a medium close-up that you can create that very interpersonal space that you're speaking with your interviewer in a very in closer proximity. You're also filling up a lot more of the screen with your presence. Okay, so the second thing is lighting. Now, okay, I'm just going to, I do realize how bad my glasses look. This is because I'm facing the light, and it's going to give me a lot of glare, as you can see over there. So if you can, don't do that. But for me, I think that it's actually okay because I'm just giving a tutorial. But of course, that's not best practice. Now, for lighting wise, it would be wise for you to use daylight because your interview is going on from 2 to 6, which also means that you have the best daylight possible. Please sit facing a window if you can. Of course, side light is fine, but probably 45-degree angles to the side or front on. Lighting is primo because if we can see you better, we'll have a much better impression of you, okay? Do not sit with your back against the window. Sometimes your table is positioned that way and it might be a space issue, but maybe just for this interview, try to position yourself facing the window. This will avoid that silhouetted, horror movie, suspense thriller, because psychologically it's not going to be very good for your interview to be gesturing or using the visual language of a suspense thriller or a horror movie. Item number 3, background. Please keep your background plain, clean, and neutral. This is going to be able to bring you out. We want to focus on you, not your background. We want to focus on your work. All right? As long as it's nicely lit and clean, this will be sufficient. If you've got a wall, if you've got a cupboard or something that you can set yourself against, but if you're space sharing with the family members and you don't really have a very nice background because it's a little bit more messy in that domain, in that area, Zoom actually has very good virtual background functions. The rule of thumb is keep yourself brightly lit, because the darker you are, the muddier that virtual clipping will be. Of course, for the Zoom backgrounds itself, you also want to be able to give yourself a nice, clean, neutral background so that it's not going to be overpowering as well. Um, Please, no office Zoom virtual background. You know who you are. So let me show you. You go into your video settings and then you go into choose your virtual background. Some of you know that I usually choose this. It's lighter, it's brighter, and the clipping is not so bad. But if I actually choose something that's quite dark, you will see that the clipping can have this white border around me. And sometimes when you're not in a very well lit space, that little white feathering will be even more obvious. There are a lot of different spaces that you have online. So even if you're choosing a nice background to pretend that you live in a very nice home, that's fine. Finally, we want to talk about audio. Now, understand that your laptops usually have reasonable sound, and you can also tune down the background from your audio settings. But usually, if you're in a confined space, then you're going to have a lot of wall around you, and that's how you get into that nice, clean background anyway. However, this will give you a lot more echo. So, rule of thumb is use an earpiece. This is a $30 one that I bought from Expo. It works fine. If you have the wireless ones, go ahead and use it. I see a lot of you using it during tutorials. So I think it's just a matter of being hooked on a device that is, designed to pick up your voice for your calls. And this is going to take that sound all the way straight into it, and it's going to cut out all that echo. So please use an earpiece. It doesn't really matter whether it's going to be a very expensive one or just something that, that you can just use for your mobiles. Item number 3, introductions. So we're moving on very quickly to the actual presentation itself. I want you to start thinking about your introductions. So this is really important for an online virtual interview, because usually for a physical interview, you actually get to walk through the door, say hi, make eye contact, and be able to make that first impression. But on Zoom, you're making that first impression the minute your camera light goes on. And your face appears and your whole square appears, and then you just go, hi. So make sure you smile, make sure you're well framed, and also make sure that you bring on enthusiasm. So you're here coming to do an interview. And this is really important for you to understand that camera and the virtual environment diminishes 30% of your energy. So whenever I say you need to bring on more enthusiasm or more energy, a lot of the students actually start to think that I'm asking them to speak louder. That's not really the case. What I actually mean by it is I want you to bring on the enthusiasm. So think about something that you get really excited about, and this is a very good way for you to start harnessing that energy, and it'll make you smile, make you excited, and make you be able to present a little bit better. Okay, so it's about bringing that best foot forward. Another thing that I want you to start to think about is how you present yourself. So a lot of us actually do really well when we start talking about our work, and you are the same. You know how to present your work very well. You know what to say, you know what to talk about, and you get very excited about describing what you found in your works and how you came about, creating your designs. But when it comes to actually talking about yourself, a lot of you start to swallow your words and start to diminish it in that sense. This will not come naturally. You will actually have to start practicing it in front of the mirror. So about talking about that work. So it's called SpeedChat for a reason. You have a very limited time to get across a lot of information. So I want you to start thinking about how you're going to manage that time of presenting your work. So that's the real meat of the matter, where you want to really make your work shine. It's one thing to actually talk about your skills and how you actually can put yourself forward, but I want you to start to think about the user's experience. So how is your interviewer going to be viewing you? So when you're starting to explain your design process, please don't start with the briefs. We all know that the GSA briefs are really abstract, and really the journey is all about how you've adapted it to suit your from all your research. That's what makes you shine. So let's focus on that. I want you to start with your design problem. This is really going to show how you've done research in finding out exactly where the pain points are. Now, the problem is not about the problem itself, but of course, the human anxiety behind the problem that you're trying to fix. So then after you've delivered or explained what your problem is that you're trying to fix, you move on very quickly to your solution. Yes, go to your solution first, your designs, right? And then after that, you can explain through your research. So then this is where you actually bring up your research and show what you found that made you make those choices in the end that guided you to your final outcome. So then this process is going to be able to enable you to use your portfolio as your tool to explain yourself and thereby showing off your skills, where your strengths are. So you don't want to go boasting about like, oh, I'm a great graphics designer or something like that, but more so show them through evidencing what you found and how your thought process will flow from your research and your sketches to how you made those choices that brought you to your ultimate goal. And this is going to make you sound extremely well thought through and of course show how you're an excellent designer. Okay, I guess that's it. Besides the point that throughout your presentation, I want you to start looking at your interviewer. So you want to study them and listen to what questions they're actually asking, because this is also a very good practice to see where your blind spots are, where your holes are in your presentation, so that you can actually take note and start filling them and beefing up your presentation for future interviews as well. Apart from that, you already know who you're speaking to, so don't forget your due diligence and find out and research a little bit about the company and about the person that you're speaking to. Ask good questions. I guess don't assume that you're already going to get the job, because they are going to be speaking to like 10 people on the same day. But of course, asking intelligent questions would be, another way of showing them how you can add value to what, their company would be offering, or what their company is looking for. And asking relevant questions would be the way to go. One of the things that I would ask is, what is the culture like? Maybe the value system, or how are they coping, or what are the changes like as they're working from home, or is that going to change in the coming months, and so on and so forth. So this is going to show that you are relevant in the times, in the current situation, and you also know that you have to keep on your toes to see how you can help out and work into the system of how they're actually being run these days. So I guess that's what I have to offer right now. And well, good luck. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun. And remember to smile. Thank you very much for watching.